He fell in love with his older widowed neighbor. The sun had just begun to set, casting a warm orange glow over the quiet suburban street. The smell of freshly cut grass and blooming flowers filled the air, and the sound of children's laughter could be heard in the distance. But amidst the peaceful atmosphere, a secret romance was blossoming. 22-year-old Alex had always been drawn to his widowed neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins. She was a stunning woman in her mid-30s, with piercing green eyes and long, curly brown hair. Her husband had passed away a year ago, leaving her alone in the big house next door. Alex had often seen her tending to her garden, her beauty and elegance captivating him. One day, as Alex was mowing his lawn, Mrs. Jenkins approached him, her eyes sparkling with a hint of sadness. "Alex, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if you could help me with something," she said, her voice husky and confident. Alex's heart skipped a beat as he agreed to assist her. As they worked together, Alex found himself stealing glances at Mrs. Jenkins, admiring the way her hair fell in loose waves down her back. He couldn't help but notice the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled, or the way her skin glowed in the sunlight. Mrs. Jenkins, too, had noticed Alex, and she couldn't deny the flutter in her chest whenever he was near. As the days turned into weeks, Alex and Mrs. Jenkins grew closer, their conversations flowing easily from gardening tips to shared memories of their childhoods. They would often meet at the fence that separated their properties, exchanging stories and laughter. Alex found himself looking forward to these encounters, his heart racing with excitement whenever he saw her. One evening, as the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Alex mustered up the courage to invite Mrs. Jenkins over for a barbecue. She accepted, and as they sat together on the patio, the air was filled with the sweet scent of sizzling burgers and the sound of soft music. The tension between them was palpable, and Alex couldn't help but wonder if Mrs. Jenkins felt the same way. As the night wore on, they found themselves lost in conversation, their eyes locked in a way that seemed to speak volumes. Alex reached out, his hand brushing against Mrs. Jenkins, sending shivers down her spine. She didn't pull away, and instead let her hand rest in his, the touch sending sparks flying between them. The night air was filled with anticipation as they sat together, the world around them melting away. Alex leaned in, his lips inches from Mrs. Jenkins, his heart pounding in his chest. She met him halfway, their lips touching in a soft, gentle kiss. The kiss deepened, and Alex felt himself getting lost in the moment, his senses overwhelmed by the taste and smell of Mrs. Jenkins. She was everything he had imagined and more, passionate, kind, and beautiful. As they broke apart for air, Mrs. Jenkins smiled, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and nervousness. From that moment on, Alex and Mrs. Jenkins' secret romance blossomed. They would steal glances at each other, exchange sweet notes, and sneak around to avoid detection. Their love was forbidden, yet they couldn't help but be drawn to each other. As the summer months passed, their relationship grew stronger, their love becoming a flame that burned bright and true. They would sit together on the patio, watching the stars twinkle above, their hands entwined as they talked about their dreams and aspirations. But their love was not without its challenges. Mrs. Jenkins's friends and family were wary of her relationship with a younger man, and Alex's parents were concerned about the age difference. Yet, despite the obstacles, they couldn't deny the love they shared. As the seasons changed, Alex and Mrs. Jenkins' love continued to grow, a secret romance that only they knew about. They would meet in secret, their love burning bright and true, a flame that would guide them through the ups and downs of life. And as they sat together on the patio, watching the sun set over the quiet suburban street, they knew that their love would last a lifetime.